off Mexico, hands off. Hands off. Hands off Colombia, hands off. Hands off. Hands off Palestine, hands off. Hands off. Hands off Africa, hands off. Hands off.
All right, those are visuals there, as you can see, from the US Embassy. Solly Mapaila currently addressing those gathered. Let's listen in.
Amandla, down with capitalism, down. Forward to socialism, forward. Forward to socialism, forward. No, thank you very much, Comrade Nicolas, for giving us this opportunity. And let me greet the leaders, first of the Communist Party, the officials, Comrade Tulas Ngesi, and other members of our Central Committee, Comrade Chesa, and our provincial secretaries that have joined us here from the Western Cape, Mpumalanga, Gauteng, Northwest, Free State, Limpopo. We really appreciate that, and our structures here in Gauteng and in Tshwane for working over the last festive period for our Just Over event, as well as preparing to come to this particular event. And greet the leadership of COSATU, Comrade President, Deputy President Mike Shingange, fellow fighter. Thank you for making time. I see you are still having a big portion of your officials. From the Second Deputy President Duncan Luvuno is here, the Deputy General Secretary, Comrade Twala, is here, and other leaders of various affiliates, Comrade December, and other affiliates that are here, as well as the World Federation of Trade Unions. We appreciate your presence here, and all affiliates of COSATU and other unions outside of COSATU. The various movements, socialist movements, political parties that have joined us here, you are too many in numbers. Because of the nature of this event, I want to acknowledge all of you, but we appreciate your presence here. All of you, the speakers, the international organizations, Swaziland, Zimbabwe, and so forth, we really appreciate your presence here to express our joint efforts and views against what America and Donald Trump have done to Venezuela. A military aggression, a military invasion, the abduction of a democratically and constitutionally elected president of Venezuela, President Nicolas Maduro Moros, and his spouse, Comrade Cilia Flores. They were abducted in the middle of the night, 10 to 1 or 10 to 2 in the morning. And in that particular abduction, they killed 32 Cuban heroes and fighters who were guarding, who were part of the presidential team to protect the president of Venezuela, Comrade Nicolas Maduro. I want to express our deepest sympathies to the families of our departed comrades from Cuba, and to thank the Cuban government for always standing up for socialism everywhere else in the world, for always standing up against impunity, and for those patriots who died in other lands, including in our own land on the African continent, in Angola and many other parts of the continent, in Algeria, when they were defending the Algerian Revolution, in Angola when they were defending the Angolan Revolution, that led to the liberation of South Africa, of Namibia, and the rest of the SADC region. But we appreciate and say to the Cuban heroes and their compatriots and to their families, we stand with you at this difficult period when we have lost your loved ones. And to Comrade Miguel, President of Cuba, we say stand firm. We remain with you. We know that the imperialists have threatened you directly once more. Cuba has received this threat for more than 60 years, and we have stood up throughout this period, supported international organizations, including our own liberation, and the Cuban system has remained firm and strong. And that's why we are also able to support the Venezuelan revolution, the Bolivarian revolution in Venezuela. To the government and people of Venezuela, firstly, we express our deepest solidarity and sympathies with those who died defending President Maduro from the abduction by these imperialist forces of the US under the direct instruction of Donald Trump. We say to the people of Venezuela, South African people and the working class worldwide are with you. What you are doing is an important lesson for the rest of the world. We have great respect and trust in your revolution and in your people who have demonstrated over the years that they can thrive against adversity. Venezuela was home to the biggest squatter camp in Latin America, the squatter camp of Petare. Comrade Mohammed, who I also want to thank, he was in the critical team of our comrade to organize this event within 48 hours. We really appreciate that, Comrade Mohammed. Petare, as Comrade Mohammed was indicating, was just giving simple general achievements of that revolution under socialism. Petare, the biggest quota camp in Latin America, is now the center of new development in Latin America. Many of those 5 million houses that you are talking about, majority are in Petare and Caracas. The development of socialism. This achievement is in contrast with the many people, thousands of them who are sleeping on streets in the United States, who are homeless, in the so-called best country or the most number one economy in the world, when its own residents are sleeping on the streets as homeless people. So we appreciate the achievement of the Bolivarian revolution in Venezuela, and we believe in the strength of the people that they will win the fight. The biggest problem here with regard to the U.S. invasion of Venezuela, as anyone has indicated, is because of oil and the other mineral reserves. Venezuela is having the largest oil reserves in the world. Over 306 billion cubic liters of oil are in Venezuela today. The nearest one, I think, is about 250 billion. They want to take these resources directly under their control, and Donald Trump has not hidden it to the world. He has pronounced it with his own mouth. He has pronounced it even on his Twitter page or whatever that page that he has created to indicate that he's after oil. He has threatened the leadership of Venezuela after the abduction of their democratically and constitutionally elected president Nicolas Maduro. He has threatened them that if they don't give him this oil, he has already demanded 50 million barrels of oil, grade A, instantly. And he said if they don't give him this oil, he will remove them. As you know, comrades, a few weeks ago, Donald Trump announced that he's allowing the CIA to kick out their operations in Venezuela. The CIA is the most atrocious intelligence organization representing the U.S. in the whole world. It has killed many people across the world, killed many presidents and government officials. In this context, when he unleashed the CIA operation, it is therefore important for us as the people of the world to appreciate the methodology of the CIA to distribute propaganda and lies across the world, to distort the truth, to use existing reality and create stories. It is in this context that we should allow the people of Venezuela, under Comrade Delcy Rodriguez, the deputy president, and Comrade Desdao. Comrade Desdao is the president of PSUV, the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, who's also wanted by the United States. As they were given the reward for capture of President Nicolas Maduro, they also put the reward for the capture of the deputy president of the party, Comrade Desdao, almost similar to that of Comrade Maduro. He's sanctioned to travel even outside of Venezuela himself. So the revolution and the revolutionary movement in Venezuela remains intact. And Comrade Rodriguez Delcy, she's the Treasurer General of PSUV. She's under the general collective and leadership of the PSUV, even though she's Deputy President of the Republic. It is in this context, comrade, that whatever the CIA seeks to do to divide the liberation forces in Venezuela should be rejected, and we should support unconditionally the revolutionary forces, the progressive forces, all the different mass forces in Venezuela to come together, because Venezuela has got a different social system. It's not organized like us here in South Africa. It is mass people's democracy rooted on the ground. And that's what is important about that development, that revolution. And that's why the United States has mistaken another country. You know, Comrade Fidel gave Comrade Chavez an example. When Chavez came there, he was coming with the idea of building socialism in the 21st century. And Fidel said, yes, I see you are building the mass movement all together. And there's no one accounting for this mass movement. Also build a party. So the PSUV is a consequence, that is the United Socialist Party of Venezuela. It's a consequence of this building of the various mass organizations into a political organization. It's not purely political in the context of how we are organized. It's organized as mass organs of the people on the ground, representative of various formations of society. So that's very important to appreciate. That's what these imperialist forces of the United States do not understand. They will never break that revolution. Of course, comrade, we should accept what has happened in Venezuela is a major setback. To the extent that it's a setback and it has destabilized that revolution that was now cohering other Latin American revolutions and supporting various international organizations. It's important that we appreciate this setback. That is why our solidarity with the people of Venezuela is very important. And we stand here firstly to demand the unconditional release of President Nicolas Maduro Moros and Comrade Cilia Flores, his spouse, from these trumped-up charges and been indicted in the U.S. jails. We know he has already threatened others. The president of Colombia, Comrade Gustavo Petro, who has already indicated that he's free, he's happy to be abducted as well. But we are fearing for him because already in Colombia, the U.S. has got military bases that they brought there in the name of fighting against narcotics and drugs, and they've never been doing so. On the contrary, it is the U.S. that has been supplying drugs all over the world and harboring criminals, drug lords, and so forth in their own countries, only to the extent that they no longer work with these drug lords, decide to betray them, then they chase them. Otherwise, they work with them. They cannot fool the world. The DIA in the U.S. has knowledge and information about drug lords in the world. They know them. If they release the statistics, their own statistics, they will show that what they are doing against Venezuelan President Maduro is completely incorrect and are lies. It is in this regard that we have organized and are joining the people across the world to support the Venezuelan revolution, to call for the release of Comrade President Nicolas Maduro Moros and Comrade Cilia Flores, his spouse, and to support the Venezuelan Bolivarian Revolution of Venezuela, which is a socialist revolution. It is in this context that the main thing that Trump hates is a country that has got an alternative system. And Venezuela has got an alternative system. The same as Cuba, which has got an alternative system. They don't want any other with an alternative system. That's why we are disappointed by the reaction of Europe. Europeans, the main colonizers of the world, they also have initially colonized Venezuela. You must remember that Venezuela, as is Cuba and other Latin American countries, have been changing hands of colonial masters from Spain, Portugal, Britain, France, US itself. So this continues even today. That's why we must reject these tendencies across the world. But the reaction of Europe is worrying us all over the world. So African leaders and the leaders in the South must be circumspect when they deal with European leaders, because they are double-faced. They can't condemn what Trump is doing. Even when they condemn him, they say, yes, we are happy that he has removed Maduro.
All right, live visuals there from Pretoria at the US Embassy, where the SACP and other organizations have gathered to demonstrate outside the embassy to express their condemnation following the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in a military operation by the United States. General Secretary of the SACP, Solly Mapaila, there, saying their action today is also to stand in solidarity with the people of Venezuela. Mapaila also imploring Cuba's President Miguel Diaz-Canel to stand firm in the midst of what he terms persistent threats. And as we know, this is a long-standing ally of Venezuela in Latin America. It's also being reported that Cuba lost over 30 agents in that U.S. operation when they were capturing Nicolas Maduro. Mapaila also expressing sympathy as well for those families who have lost their loved ones who died during that military operation. That figure being placed currently at 100 lives lost. Our reporter on the ground is working tirelessly to get the reaction of the United States Embassy officials on the protests outside there. Well, still on President Donald Trump, he signed a memorandum ordering the withdrawal of the U.S. from 66 international organizations. Nearly half of those are United Nations organizations. Trump has deemed these organizations as operating contrary to the interests of the U.S. Many of these combat climate change and promote peace and democracy.